Thank you very much. Okay. Call this council to order. Good to see everyone in the flesh. And hopefully more and more of it. Well, not more and more of it, but more in-person meetings. More and more meetings. Yes, let's clarify that right off the bat.
Thank you.
Okay, would someone like to move the approval of the agenda, please?
I will.
Thank you. Seconder?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add an item to the agenda if possible.
You go ahead.
I'd like to have a discussion on standing committees when we get a chance at the somewhere on the agenda.
Committees. Okay.
Wherever you want to put it.
Anything in particular, like?
Well, I'd like to have a discussion on where we are with committees at City and some future
Okay.
direction.
Okay. Let's move that to, let's see. Where do you want to put that, Marina? 4-3? 4? Put it right at the end, yeah. Absolutely, okay.
Where's that, Mr. Mayor?
6-2.
6.2. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a couple items too, if I may.
Potentially, yeah.
One would be just a discussion over Cornbrook Transit, please.
Okay.
And a second one, which would be just some sort of statement from the city on what's going on in Ukraine, and a statement of support for the people of Ukraine.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Now remember, guys, we do have policy around agenda items. So where possible, we should be sending them forward to the clerk by Wednesday, I believe, the week before, so that staff can prepare background, of course, right? It sounds like these items are more for discussion purposes. Again, I don't see anything the matter with going ahead with this, but please, in future, if you have something you want to discuss in earnest, pass it on so we can get someone on it. Okay, so we have, would someone like to, I guess, go again and move the agenda, please? The new agenda, okay, and seconded?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Counterminded? Approved. Okay. We have minutes. So this is I think we had a slight error in some people's agendas. Some people had an updated agenda, some people didn't. So we do have some minutes from a public meeting from the 7th. Would someone like to move the approval of those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Seconder?
No, I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Okay. Councillor Griffin, would you walk it? Oh, there's two there. Sorry, yes. That was just the 7th. Yes, the 24th as well. Public meeting. Would someone like to move those?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Okay. And now, Councillor Griffin, we have some minutes from a CC meeting we need to ratify, if you would, please.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In accordance with Section 41-3 of the City of Cornbrook Act, where a decision is made by the councillors at a privileged meeting, the decision, in order to be valid, shall be ratified at a public meeting of council. Proposed resolution, council and committee meeting January 24, 2022. It is resolved to approve minutes CC 22-001, approval of agenda. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that one.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Next
It
one.
is okay. It is resolved to approve minutes CC 22-004, Chimera price adjustment request contract number 2020-19, polyaluminum chloride. And a motion by Councillor Griffin, second by Councillor Pender. It is resolved to award Chimera the off-cycle price increase of 20% for the remainder of contract number 2020-19, which expires September 30th, 2022. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder on that one?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried.
Okay, and the final one, it is resolved to approve minutes CC 22-006, agreement to provide fire emergency services to the Humber Valley Resort. Councillor Pender declared conflict of interest. And a motion by Councillor Gill, seconded by Councillor Griffin. It is resolved to approve the agreement to provide fire and emergency services to the Humber Valley Resort for the prescribed annual standby allocation fee plus an applicable response charges as outlined in the agreement attached hereto until December 31st, 2024. Councillors Keeping, Granter, and Deputy Mayor Chason voted against the motion. It was a tie vote.
Okay, and I guess we need to still resolve that to...
Okay, I so move.
Yeah, seconder?
I'll second that one.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carry. Excellent. Okay, do we have any business arising from the minutes?
I just have a follow-up question, Mr. Mayor, on the
Yep.
January 24th meeting.
Yep.
I think it was, 22-006 fireworks policy.
Yes.
And I had asked for some review of that. I don't know if we've made any headway with that
Yes.
since, so just looking for an update.
Okay, Mr. Flynn?
Yes, I have been doing a bit of work on this. I've consulted with several different municipalities around the province. And there is a pathway, I guess, to introducing a bylaw in relation to fireworks. It's a difficult piece of legislation to enforce, but what I have learned is that if we do have that bylaw in place, people tend to comply to it for the most part. It reduces nuisance fireworks. So that's what I've learned so far. So if council wants me to go any further with that, I look for your direction on that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I would assume that something would come before council again, an RFD with a proposed bylaw, basically, would be.
And if I could, Mr. Mayor, perhaps before July 1st? Don't want the pressure on.
Yes,
Pretty much ready to go. Mr. Mayor, I was in contact with Mr. Flynn earlier today to arrange a meeting so that he could fill me in more fully on what he did learn. So perhaps that's something we could open to all councillors if they wish to join in, and we can learn what you've learned before it comes before council.
sure. Okay, so Mr. Flynn will prepare something a little further based on his research and bring it forward. Okay, thank you. Anything else there? Okay, proclamations and events. We have one here to mention. March 6th is World Lymphedema Day, whereas lymphedema is a chronic and debilitating disease characterized by an accumulation of lymphatic fluid, causes swelling of the arms, legs, and other areas of the body, and which can cause disfigurement, disabilities, discomfort, pain, and distress, and impair the quality of life. So therefore, I, Mayor Jim Parsons, City of Corner Brook, do hereby proclaim March 6th to be observed as World Lymphedema Day in Corner Brook. Next, we have a presentation. We did some work on our sidewalks in terms of investigation. Mr. Burton, if you would please join us, give us a taste of what we're dealing with here from a sidewalk perspective. What do we do first?
Well, good evening, everyone. Without further ado, this presentation I know has been on the agenda. I think this is the third time, so I'm available tonight to give it to council and all the people on Rogers and Bay of Islands Radio and our Facebook page. So just a little bit of we did a project this summer. It's never been undertaken with the City of Corner before, but what we did was basically an assessment of all the sidewalk that the City of Corner Brook has. So the presentation will start off with a little introduction, then condition assessment methodology, so how we basically undertook our work, some real brief findings. We'll look at the costs associated with our findings, some recommendations, public concerns. The gentleman who actually did the did the field work for this project, had a lot of interaction with residents and had a few concerns that he brought forward from the public. And then there's time at the end for questions from council. So the city of Corner Brook actually has 44 kilometers of sidewalk. That's spread all throughout the city. The sidewalks are usually constructed of either concrete, asphalt, or brick pavers. Historically, in Corner Brook, concrete has been the material of choice, and it is the material of choice in most municipalities for sidewalk. In 2021, we had a budget for a concrete curb and sidewalk for about $211,000 to do repairs and to extend sidewalk where we could. It should be noted that most of that money is actually spent in when we do water and sewer breaks and reinstating sidewalk and curb in them areas. The approximate cost to replace concrete sidewalk is about $155 per linear meter. This is a pre-COVID number. I suspect that this number could actually be higher coming in this summer. So if you look at 44 kilometers of sidewalk at $155 a meter, you're looking at about a $7 million asset for the city of Corner Brook. So it's no small number. It's a big asset that we have to keep maintaining. A couple of people that I want to point out that really helped with this project. Colton Kennedy was a work-term student from the College of North Atlantic Civil Engineering Technology. Colton was actually the boots on the ground for this project, so he walked all 44 kilometers of our sidewalk and did the assessment based on the methodology. That it was a model we basically took out of the city of Seattle. They had done a really extensive concrete or sidewalk program, and we didn't see any reason to reinvent the wheel. It was very relevant to what we were doing, so we used portions of that to do our assessment. The other person that's not on this slide but definitely deserves mention is Robin Snook. Robin's our GIS administrator downstairs. She actually developed the app and the software that Colton used to collect all of his data. It was collected simply on basically an iPad and what they call a bad elf. My understanding is the good elves stay in the North Pole. The bad elves are what are used to collect data for our GIS software. I couldn't help it. It was so easy. So basically, sidewalks in our model get classified into one of two. They're either high traffic areas or standard traffic areas. High traffic areas we basically delineated as being in the downtown core. So you got Broadway, Main Street, West Street, Park Street, Herald Avenue. They were the high traffic. Now school zones would also be considered high traffic, but are basically standalones in this model because they're so important. And then there's a real good definition here of standard traffic areas, which is any area that's not defined as a high traffic area. So that's pretty much in all the subdivisions and in all the other places around that is not downtown. So the model has basically three priorities, and priority one is a very poor condition of the sidewalk. There's a serious safety concern associated with that sidewalk. So the idea was to paint it orange and let the superintendent know so that it could be prioritized and repaired immediately. Priority two was not necessarily a safety concern, but the condition of the sidewalk was still poor or average. Again, not a safety concern, but it's marked, and the superintendent of public works will be notified through a report once scheduled inspections are complete. And then the least critical, which makes sense, is priority three, which is our fair or new sidewalk. So there's no orange paint in this case, and the superintendent will be notified at the year end with a report letting him know what the condition of that sidewalk is in. So the rating system, it also considers whether the sidewalk is in a high traffic area, a school area, or if there's any accessibility issues when we established our priorities for repair. So it's somewhat subjective, but you had to have a baseline for what the condition of your sidewalk actually is. So Again, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We found a condition rating that we kind of liked. So it varies from new right down to very poor, and associated with that is the priority rating for repair. As you can see, new is little to no cracking. The faulted edge is the number, which is basically the difference in height between two panels. And from all the research we did, that number is the most important, or one of the most important pieces when you're doing a study like this. That's where you get your trip and your hazards, and that'll lead to more deterioration of your sidewalk through snow clearing, such. So on to repairs, and this slide with the repairs pretty much models the priority from when we do our classification. So priority 1, this is most important. This is where it's a dangerous sidewalk. We have to repair as soon as the weather allows and as soon as the crews are available. Priority 2 is still important. There's still problems there, but it can be fixed when crews become available or budget constraints. Priority 3 is the least important, obviously, and that's your newer sidewalks where you're going to do stuff like crack sealing or something a lot less intrusive than a replacement. And to make a big part of this and an important piece of this is we have to keep notifying engineering and our GIS people what repairs are being done so that the GIS system can be updated on a yearly basis. That's important. This is not a report that we put together to basically sit on a shelf. This is something that we're going to use for budgeting purposes going forward, and it's important that it's as accurate as we can get it. So, repair options. 3 repair options: crack filling, asphalt overlay, and replacement. Obviously, replacement and asphalt overlay is the options that have been used primarily to date in the city of Corner Brook. But we are going to be looking at doing some crack filling in 2022. Obviously, the crack, in order to do crack filling, you got to have sidewalk that is in pretty good condition, which we do have areas that would benefit from crack filling. The only thing is crack filling is not a solution for differential settlement or the lip between two different pieces of sidewalk. So crack filling is not as versatile as a repair or not as utilized as much as the asphalt overlay and the replacement, but is something that we are going to explore for 2022. So here's where the rubber kind of hits the road, so to speak. There's 44 kilometers of sidewalk were surveyed, which is approximately 18,000 individual panels. So Colton walked that pretty much all summer, and with his iPad did a condition survey of every individual panel. So there's a lot of data in the background of these figures. So of what he found was about 0.1% was new. 13.2% was fair. The majority was average at 49%. But then he gets into the poor and very poor. Poor was 26.4%, and very poor is 11.3%. So we're looking at about 38% of our sidewalk in the city is poor or very poor. And doing some research, once you reach that level of condition, replacement is basically your only option. Repair at this point is the sidewalk is too far gone for any kind of crack filling or asphalt overlay. So the next slide is it's a very interesting. So this is all the sidewalk. The color represents all the sidewalk in the city of Corner Brook. The red and orange represents what really needs to be replaced. And as you can see, there's no surprise. Places like the older parts of town, like Humbermouth and Curling, there's more red than you will see in town site, and the newer subdivisions, Sunny Slope, Carbreeze. A lot of the stuff in town site now over the years has been replaced with our our water and sewer projects that have been undertaken. But like I said, there's still a lot of work to be done on sidewalks in the Curling and in the Humbermouth area, where we see, the majority of the red. So basically, once all of our data was inputted and the repairs we looked at the condition, we had to make some assumptions and some decisions on repair. And basically, what we're looking at doing for, the focus for 2022 will be on replacement of the most dangerous or the very poor pieces of sidewalk, which accounts for approximately 10% of all the sidewalk that we have in our city. So I can see council right now crunching numbers in their head on how much this may cost us going forward. So just a quick summary, replacement of 10% is about 1,800 panels. Panels are approximately 2.4 meters in length. Approximately 4,400 meters of sidewalk is in need of replacement at $155 per linear meter. We're at $600 or just shy of $700,000 is what we would need this year to basically remove all the very poor sections of sidewalk. We'd still be left with sidewalk that would require work, but this would be a good starting point. The $700,000 doesn't include the costs that we would need for concrete curb and sidewalk we replace each summer from the water and wastewater repairs. That's an additional, which is already budgeted for 2022, approximately $200,000 we spend every year on that. So the recommendations, and these were recommendations that Colton had in his work term report that I thought were very well researched and very relevant to what we're doing. So we need to look at using asphalt more. There's no secret, asphalt is cheaper than concrete, and it does provide a sidewalk that is very functional. Aesthetically, you could argue it's not as pretty. I'd argue it's not as pretty because my background is in concrete, but it works. You look at places like Griffin Drive walking trail, which is asphalt, has held up very well. Brookfield Avenue had some asphalt sidewalk installed a couple years ago. Again, holding up very well. So we have to look at ways of using more asphalt in the lower traffic areas to extend our money, extend our buck a little bit further. Annual monitoring assessment of the sidewalk condition. This year was the first time we've done it. I think it was a big success. The student's work term, he learned a lot. We gathered a lot of information, and now we have a baseline going forward. To get a sense next year is, do this program again, and let's see from year to year what our sidewalks are looking like and how quick they're deteriorating. We got to acknowledge public complaints and concerns in a timely fashion. I say this is the first time we've ever done a concrete conditions or sidewalk condition survey, but that's, I guess, technically not true. We got 19,000+ residents who are walking these sidewalks every day, and their eyes are the absolute best when it comes to doing condition surveys. They know where the problems are, but we encourage them to call them in so we can be aware where these problems are a little bit quicker. It takes a lot of our resources to do a condition survey. We were the better part of the summer, and there was probably still trouble areas that we didn't pick up. But if public is walking that every day and they see an area that's trouble, all means encourage them to call it in, and we can get it on the list. And we have to prioritize. Obviously, we can't replace $7 million worth of sidewalk right now or any time in the near future. So, we think seniors, accessibility, and children are the three main, people that we're going after, or people that we're trying to do this work for, so that the sidewalks are safe for them to be using on a daily basis. So then Colton had some public concerns. So there were lots, but there were three that he brought forward, and I thought I'd bring them forward to council. The seniors in curling, they're just upset at the sidewalk condition, and probably rightfully so. It's old sidewalk. It hasn't been adequately maintained for probably several years. And as you can see, it's quite a red area in our GIS system. So that is an area that we have to focus on to provide a better service. Some roads only have a sidewalk on one side, and yes, although that is a public concern, right now I think our goal is to get sidewalk on more streets, and if it only means one side right now, I think that's better than having people walking in the street. And snow clearing concerns. I was surprised by this one, to be honest. I'm surprised that anyone would complain about our efforts in snow clearing, and especially on sidewalks. And I say that obviously tongue-in-cheek, but we have done things different this year. It's been a challenging year, but we have dedicated more resources to the clearing of sidewalks and sanding and salting of sidewalks. So it would be interesting, after doing this assessment next year or the year after, to have the technician or the work term student that did it provide their comments again. What are they hearing from the public? Did they see any difference this year over last year, or what we're doing not hitting the mark right now? So that's essentially the presentation on our sidewalk assessment and our findings, and I'm open to any questions from council.
Yep, Councillor Gill.
2 questions. What's the difference in price per linear meter between asphalt and concrete? You said it was cheaper. How much cheaper?
It is cheaper. Not having the exact number on the top of my head, I'm thinking it's about a third the price.
And what is spalled?
Spalled is,
It was in the chart. There was one of the headings
it
in the contract.
results in, spalling occurs when concrete is not adequately air entrained, and basically the chlorides cause the surface to come off. So the concrete surface should be a smooth surface, and if you see a sidewalk that you can actually see the aggregates, like the rough aggregates, that's a spall.
Question?
Yes, Councillor Renner.
Mr. Burden, outside of new subdivisions where sidewalks are put in, and outside of using asphalt in low traffic areas, has council in the last number of years added to the asset of extra sidewalks around our city in parts of the city that are not new subdivisions and not using asphalt? And we have a number of how many extra parts of a kilometre or kilometres that we've done in the last number of years, such that we can have or look at a plan going forward of how much new sidewalk can we put down in the city.
So I don't have the exact number of over the last number of years how much new we've put down, but we do put down new every year. The majority goes to rehabilitation of water and sewer cuts, but every year we do make it a point to put down 2 or 3 sections. Usually it's 40 or 50 feet, 60 feet per section. We try to get that down every year in new areas, somewhere that there's traffic, there's volume for it, but it currently doesn't have a sidewalk. So I don't have the exact number, but we definitely are doing new every year.
Thank you.
And one thing I guess I know Mr. Charters talks about this a lot from a planning perspective. Not everywhere needs sidewalk. Especially in side roads and subdivisions, sometimes lower traffic areas, it's preferable to not necessarily have sidewalk. Of course, you want to accommodate things like on-street parking and that as well. So sidewalk does take up space, and it does increase cost for development. So it is a trade-off of it, of course. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Just going back to the concrete, Mr. Burton, the cost of concrete, is that more expensive? One of the reasons because of labor intensive? There's much more work to do with concrete panel than asphalt?
Yeah, it's more labor intensive, but the materials tend to be more expensive as well.
So you predict that even with the price of oil over $100 a barrel, asphalt is still going to be cheaper?
We hope so. We really do.
We do a lot more asphalt.
We won't know, I guess, until the spring when the tender is out. But historically, we've always had cheaper asphalt than concrete.
And Mr. Mayor, just to follow up on the
Yep.
question Mr. Grant asked, I think the only two large sections of sidewalk I can think of new, relatively new, was the section we did on Brookfield Avenue, from about McPherson up to the junior high school. We did that path there, and then a section on Country Road, and that was supposed to be extended down, but obviously it's an expensive endeavor, right?
Yeah, there's a real challenge in putting new sidewalk in existing development, is, you have your power poles and you have people's driveways, and so trying to get the grade right between the road and the existing driveways and the utility poles, it's a challenge for sure, and that's where there was a stumbling block on Country Road, was the cost to get down there. So.
Yes, go ahead.
Donnie, when I think of pavement compared to concrete, pavement is a lot smoother. Is that fair? So I'm just thinking the safety thing if we're going to be using pavement now.
Yeah.
Is that an issue?
No, it would not be an issue. It's, we can easily, if there is a question that comes up, if we do an asphalt section, there's testing that can be done on the actual surface to verify that it has the friction that you need for pedestrians. But it's not an issue that I've read about at all.
Okay. If I could do
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just thinking when I think of a sidewalk and you're saying it's uneven, so something is driving it up. I'm just thinking about a driveway. Sometimes you'll have a rock there so if we have a section of concrete that's, uneven, would we, when we take it off, do we kind of see what's going on there?
Yeah, no, if we remove a section, we just don't remove the surface. We'll do the granulars as well.
Okay.
So we want to, because most of the failures in our sidewalk have nothing to do with the actual concrete or the surface. It's what's below. So we will always remove our subgrade and build it back up, try to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of going with that, because if there's an issue with the concrete, it would be an issue with the pavement.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a question then. So we're looking at repairs and so on, starting with, I think you said $700,000 a year, which we don't have. Do we have a plan going forward and a budgeted amount other than water line cuts and things like that we're looking at, and what is that?
Well, I'm looking at the city manager, and
There is an amount, but I cannot quote it here now. I'd have to get by this.
it's, I think what we have budgeted is to the tune of $400,000 for 2022 to address some of these sidewalk concerns over and above the water and sewer and our regular type program.
Okay, thank you.
So about 5%, I guess, of our.
Well, it's a good start, Mr. Mayor, based on what we've been able to do over the last number of years. Some years you do some years you don't get any done. But I think as long as there's a dedicated amount in the budget and a plan moving forward, and this is an excellent start to give you an idea of where we are and where we need to go. Annual review will help enhance that each year as we move forward. I think it's a really good initiative, and I applaud whoever was involved. And I look forward to seeing some of our sidewalks being repaired, especially in those areas of Curling Hummerbelt that are really bad. And I don't know if anybody, when you're knocking on doors or going around the city during the election, but that was a big concern that was brought up by a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, just one more follow-up if I could. So from here on, we are going with pavement, or you're thinking of going with pavement?
We will look at the different areas. Like if we have 4 or 5 really bad panels on a say a 1 kilometer stretch, we wouldn't replace them with asphalt because aesthetically it would just look terrible.
Yeah.
So we would infill with concrete. But anywhere where we're doing a new section, asphalt will definitely be priority for sure.
But it sounds like we're going to go with a hybrid approach.
It will.
Less traveled areas, use more asphalt where possible.
It will,
High traffic,
yeah.
use concrete.
It'll be a hybrid approach for sure. And like I said, it'll be the next couple of years will be very much a learning curve on what works best where as well. So.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Burden. I'm sure there'll be other questions come out of this over the next little while from council, but that's a great primer for sure. Okay. Next, we have Deputy Mayor. We have actually, it was a funding announcement today about the Great Trail. And if you would tell us about the start of that project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great Trail Enhancement Location Phase 1. This RFP is intended to address a section of a prime consultant related to the Great Trail Enhancement Phase 1 project. The Great Trail Enhancement Phase 1 project is funded under the Community Culture and Recreation Infrastructure of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program and consists of a pedestrian bridge installation, road sidewalks, and pedestrian crossing enhancements, as well as upgrades to natural dirt paths, including addition of drainage as necessary, slope stability improvement, vegetation management, and the import of a tread surfacing material. The project's aim is to establish a continuous activity, transportation, and recreation route along the city's waterfront. The City of Corner Brook requested proposals to select a prime consultant for the project. So the proposed resolution is, be it resolved that this council of the City of Corner Brook accept the proposals submitted by Anglo Corp for the Great Trail Enhancement Phase 1 for the amount of $86,163.75, HST included. I so move.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, questions on this item?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Just reading this, what is tread surfacing materials?
There you go. Mr. Charters?
Tread surfacing materials, through you, Mr. Mayor. Ideally, it would all be asphalt, but there are other treatments like crusher dust and those types of things would be considered.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, it won't be all asphalt, it'll be a mix of different materials. Okay.
A good example would be, I guess, down in that area recently, we had a lot of blast rock and bigger material that
From the old
I guess we had some work done. Public Works got Cormac Street Trail to help us redo it and tamped it nicely. It was beautiful.
Yeah, the big improvement.
Yeah. Any other questions? So this is a big project. So obviously this is a $1.7 million project overall from a funding perspective. This is just the engineering work to get us there, but it'll take us right down, right out to the western extent of the trail and up as far as the mill, right?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What's the time frame for this particular phase?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, once this is awarded, we'll get this designed and then we'll see where we are. I'd like to see something start this year, but that may not be possible given the design period. But I believe we have till 2024 to complete the project, if I'm not mistaken. We'd like to see something done this year.
Thank you.
It's a big project.
Thank you. Any other questions here? Good. Okay. Take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Okay. Councillor Gill, we have a Crown Land application.
We do. This is a Crown Land application for the land adjacent to 572 O'Connell Drive. City of Corner Brook has received an application from the owner of the property at 572 O'Connell Drive to obtain Crown land located adjacent to their property for the purpose of extending their side and rear yards. The requested Crown land, as well as the applicant's property, is located in a rural zone where the existing single dwelling use is a previously approved discretionary use of the City of Corner Brook development regulations. Therefore, be it resolved to approve the application to obtain Crown land adjacent to 572 O'Connell Drive for the purpose of extending the side and rear yards of the property, subject to the applicant consolidating the Crown land with their property and complying with the City of Corner Brook development regulations. So moved.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions on this one?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Can somebody explain to myself, and I guess to residents who are listening and watching tonight, why would something for Crown Land, and I may be asking a redundant question here, why would we have to approve something for Crown Land in order for it to go ahead? Is it because it's on our property, it's within our city?
Within our boundary, we would have to, we would get referred. Yeah, we would
Okay.
have to provide some guidance, advice on our perspective on this, and it's a discretionary use.
Okay, so under normal circumstances, it wouldn't come to us to approve. It was just a piece of Crown Land, say, up on Lewin Parkway or something, and somebody wanted it, would we have to approve
If,
that?
I'm assuming if it wasn't our planning boundary.
Yep.
Yeah, but if anything in our planning boundary, so that's a pretty
Okay.
big boundary. yeah.
Okay, so anyone in our planning boundary has to come to the city, but anything outside our planning boundary does not have to come to the city?
Yeah, or it might go to some other town or something.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor, this
Yes.
is akin to what we approved with the land on the North Shore for the poultry.
Similar process, yeah.
Similar process.
Yeah,
This is within a residential.
yeah,
This one is.
in this case here, this is, it seems like they're applying for a land grant instead of a lease, because we talk about consolidating the property as one section from a city perspective. So,
I assume it is
Yeah,
correct
I mean-
because of that fact, yes.
right.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Any other questions here?
Do we know how much they're looking for?
You can see the drawing there, right, from a square footage perspective.
Oh,
I
I'm sorry, I
can't recall if
missed
it, if it's said, but it looks like it basically is about doubling the parcel that they have. And it's directly across from Birchy Cove there, I think.
Up in Birchie, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Okay. Councilor Granter, you wanted to discuss committees. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like I said, I wrote up a resolution, but I just make some comments. You want me to do a resolution first or have some discussion about it? I brought it forward so we can have a discussion on standing committees. A good example this evening, as I was making notes, was when Councillor Gill mentioned earlier in the meeting that she had a meeting today, or requested from Director Flynn to have a meeting with regard to the individual fireworks or fireworks uses within the city, which would be a very appropriate topic to would have come up at a standing committee discussion such that all council could be involved with. So that's just an example that came up this evening. And it's for transparency purposes, and this is my second term on council. And I feel sometimes that I don't have all of the information that's necessary or being able to make the kinds of decisions or being filled with all of the information that's available. We're lucky to have a great staff of directors that have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, a wealth of professional background. They bring with them their unique perspective on their particular departments, but I'm sure collectively the directors share a great deal of information amongst each other. And likewise, the staff that we have in the offices throughout this building and throughout other municipal buildings around the city have a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge. Around this table, we have our own perspectives and our own backgrounds, our own professional backgrounds, but we also have new councillors that are sitting around this table who haven't had the opportunity to sit on standing committees for 1 year and then in the second year switch to another committee and be able to absorb the knowledge of the directors and the experiences of the staff that we have that are all very professional. So I brought it up before. I think we should revisit standing committees, and again, it would come to council for discussion, which is why I brought it forward tonight. I don't have the actual resolution typed up or word process to pass to Marina, but I could pass it in after. But I'm going to make the resolution, and we can have discussion here around the table. Be it resolved that the Council of the City of Corner Brook establish standing committees for all city departments comprising of a chair and a vice chair of council, directors and city manager and other department staff as required. Furthermore, be it resolved to direct staff to review the standing committee guidelines and bring back to council updated and/or revised guidelines for the establishment of such standing committees within 45 days from today. And I counted up 45 days from today would take us up to Good Friday. And then we could have a discussion after whether, we implement it after Good Friday or in the following year or throughout the summer for these committees, whenever they would take place. So that's my proposal,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
okay. So you're making a resolution?
Yes, that's the resolution.
Someone
Be it
second
resolved. Yeah.
Someone want to second that?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Questions, thoughts?
I thought that's why we did the committee of the whole.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
We do committee of the whole so that we.
Address the chair, please.
I'm sorry, yeah, sorry. That's why we introduced committee of the whole, because we would sit in here in chambers and have discussions about all committees.
Yeah, the leads just
Yeah.
bring forth, I guess, the items along with their directors
Yeah.
on topics, right?
In response to that, from my experience, and I'm enjoying the committee of the whole, but I'm also on one of the committees, but we don't see, the official minute taking. We haven't seen experience of a lot of the staff or the directors, and I feel like it's a wealth of information that doesn't come forward that these directors have and our staff in these buildings have, that I feel a little bit sometimes without the information that we need to have. That's a personal feeling. Others might feel differently, but
So,
and again, this is an open discussion on this particular topic.
And I guess my question would be what would be different in what we're doing? Will we bring all the managers in to these meetings as well? Would we have multiple members on each committee? I guess how would it work?
Well, that was my second part of the motion, Mr. Mayor, would be to direct staff to review the standing committee guidelines, which we currently have, or they should be on the books, because I don't think we ever took them off the books from the previous council or even the council previous to that. So it would be up to staff to bring forward, the standing committee guidelines, update them and/or revise them to meet the needs of this current council on a go-forward basis. I recall getting a wealth of information on the previous standing committee that I served on early in the previous council, where we would meet at the Civic Center and with staff, and you got a perspective on a lot of issues and many of their professional opinions, which helped guide me in a decision-making process around this table. And I think we've had examples in the past in the previous council and somewhat in this council, whereby we're making a decision on things. Sometimes, yes, you get your material to read, but you haven't had that full, knowledgeable discussion with directors and especially staff that can often bring valuable information. I leave it to the rest of the council for discussion, but that's my personal opinion.
Okay. Yes, Deputy.
Thank you. I sat on both, where we had committees, chair, vice chair. We got together and we discussed. It certainly was not a decision-making meeting, Mr. Mayor. It was more of an information gathering where we got all the background information. And I'll go back to what Councillor Granter said about Councillor Gill with the fireworks. I mean, if she hadn't mentioned that tonight, we'd never know where that policy or procedure is going to go. Just using that as an example. Also, I don't want to get into specifics right now because I'm not sure how much legally we can talk about, but that's one. So I would like to go with the proposal or the motion that Councillor Granter is putting on the floor, that we have staff look at it and bring us back something. It's not a decision-making meeting. We're not getting in there behind closed doors discussing stuff that we're not going to discuss in public. But I still think it's good for us all to sit at this table with the same information, because I might feel that I don't know something, so I'm going to call one of the directors, or I might, and then I'm getting information. Councillor Gill calls, she gets some more information. So between us all, we got information. But why not sit at a table and get it all at one
Yeah,
time?
I guess in my experience with the committees, and when I started last term, there was only ever 2 councillors maximum on a committee, and people didn't show up optionally. And even now, we have an F&A committee, which all council is welcome to, and we don't typically have attendance. So I guess how are we expecting to educate everyone through the committee structure behind closed doors if we can't do it in a committee of the whole?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I may. So, yeah, I see where the council is going now. In my experience, the standing committees allowed, if we look at what previous councils have over the last 16 or so years, the idea being that you had a chair and a vice chair, 2 co-chairs. We changed it a couple of times, whatever. And so if you have, how many departments do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We used to have, say, a chair and a co-chair, and then you would alternate each year. And then the second year, the chair would move on to another committee, and so on. So that gave each councillor an opportunity to rotate between, say, 3, maybe 4 committees, depending on which ones they were on. The committee meetings were actually open to the public. They weren't closed meetings, except if there was land, labor, legal issues sometimes. But normally they were open to the public if somebody wanted to come in and do a presentation. As a matter of fact, it was as an opportunity for anybody, a developer or whatever, who wanted to talk to council directly could come into those meetings. Because most of our meetings, our public meetings are, unless you have a petition, are closed to public input, if you will, during the meeting. One of the benefits as well was that we always had minutes, and I think the last council, the council before, we made a motion that minutes would have to be done by the Friday of that week, basically. And those minutes were distributed amongst all of council. So all of council was aware of what, even if you weren't sitting on, say, the Protective Services Committee, at least you saw what was being discussed because you got minutes. And when an RFD was then coming to council, well, if you're doing your work as a councillor and you're going through the minutes from those committees, and as you said, any councillor can attend even now, right? Then you had the opportunity to go to that meeting if you want. But when you came to a committee of the whole, all of council is better informed, because I'll say right now, like, there's things coming to council here, I have no clue where it's coming from. I don't know whose priorities they are. I don't know who's setting the agenda, because we haven't had those discussions. And we're, I'm going to say, 5 months in, I'm pretty close there, I think. And, you know, there's times that I'm looking at RFPs coming to council for, especially committee of the whole, and, like, I don't know where this came from. And maybe it's things that were initiated in the previous council, just following through and so on. But I think some ability to sit with our staff, discuss with them, learn from them where these things are coming from, what the plans are, having input, because that's why we're elected, to have input, and not simply to rubber stamp things that are coming to us on RFPs that we have. Oftentimes, we don't know where it's all coming from. And as we get it on a Friday, you have Monday to really figure things out. If you know, most things we can get an answer to. The other thing I'll say is that, you know, the more informed we are and the more involved we are, not in day-to-day operations, but these are meetings that take, and I think we used to do 1 a month from September to June, something like that, like a school calendar. And that shows what we did. But I'll say, I'm on the pool committee. We've had 1 meeting since I've been appointed, and I couldn't attend that one. And the F&A committee, we've had 2, one of which I was late for. So, in 5 months.
Yeah.
So,
And
you know,
one was
these are supposed to be standing
but
committees, multiple meetings.
one was canceled by you as well,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Right, one was canceled. Well, staff asked to cancel it, so we said, okay. That was on the budget one. So, you know, I think there's some value, especially for newer councillors, and I'm including myself there, of being able to get the background information, understand where projects, priorities, where these things are coming from, until such a time as councils have an opportunity to sit down and say, what are our priorities? Because, again, like, many of these things are just coming through, and a lot of us, speak for myself anyway, I don't really know where they're all coming from. So I think it's rubber stamping things, because it's an RFD coming from staff. I fully trust our staff. I know we have very professional staff, and they're working in the best interests of the city and their citizens, but we have to be involved. And simply bringing something to us for approval, you know, at a meeting here tonight is not what I was used to anyway in being involved as a councillor or whatever my position was previously.
So that's, so I would support at least staff going back, looking at it, and coming back with something. I don't know when Good Friday is, but 45 days, it seems reasonable to me.
Okay, any thoughts? Yes.
Just for clarification, I didn't bring up the fireworks. Councillor Pender inquired about where it was from Business Horizon in the minutes.
Yeah.
And I just added to his question. I feel very informed. I've never felt that I couldn't just pick up the phone and ask someone. I did, in fact, when this came out on Friday, I saw the request for decision on the Crown Land application, for instance, and I dropped Aaron a note and said, can I pick your brain about it? What's that all about? Especially since I'm the one that has to speak to it on the agenda. And it was a 4-minute conversation. He told me what the background was. It was no big deal. With respect to the conversation I was meant to have with Todd, that again was just, wasn't meant to be a meeting. It was me picking a brain. And as he indicated today, he did find some information as a result of the question that Councillor Pender and I had raised previously. And it just seemed, since it had been raised from Business Horizon today, that it made sense for us all to be on that phone call or whatever that he's doing. Or maybe it's a brief. Maybe we get emailed a brief on it or whatever. I really don't want any more committees in my life. I don't know how many more there would be. I feel like I am empowered and can get information about things that I don't know about. I feel confident that if I raise a question here around the table that our staff are going to transparently and professionally answer our questions. And if there is ever a time when we're asked for a decision on something and we don't feel that we are knowledgeable enough, it is within our rights to send it back and to vote down that decision. Nobody should feel that just because an RFD comes to the table here that we got to put it forward. We can send it back for further fleshing out of the proposal or what have you. I would like to know, again, because this RFD was just, or this, request for decision or resolution was just read out, I'd like to hear it again, because I wrote it down, and I thought the beginning part was, be it resolved to establish standing committees for all department, like I was writing it very quickly, as required. Before we pass a resolution, if that is indeed what it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, before we get to that point where we're deciding that yes, we are going to establish standing committees for all departments, I would suggest that we put a hold on that and have that homework done before we get to the part where we say we're going to establish those. I'm not comfortable to vote right now on establishing standing committees for every department until after the second part of the resolution is done. Again, if I'm remembering correctly, that we have 45 days for staff to go back and find out what best practices or guidelines are. And then I'd be ready to vote on it. That's all. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, perhaps you could have Councillor Grant read out the motion again. My understanding was he was asking us to give direction to staff to go back and review this and come back in 45 days.
I can read it out, but I'm open to friendly amendments too. Be it resolved that Council of the City of Corner Brook establish standing committees for all city departments comprising of a chair and vice chair of council, directors, city manager, and other department staff as required. Furthermore, be it resolved to direct staff to review the standing committee guidelines and bring back to council updated and or revised guidelines for the establishment of such standing committees within 45 days from today.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, so again, I'll suggest that the second part of that resolution should come first, get those guidelines, do the homework, and then determine whether or not we want to go that route.
Yep. Would
That's
you
my suggestion.
suggest a friendly amendment? Or
Friendly amendment, yeah, sure. Whatever.
what do you think, Bob?
Yeah, if you want to make a friendly, you're making a friendly amendment?
Yep,
do
so
the first part and then
So to direct.
Then we vote, then
to
we vote,
direct-
then we would bring it back
to-
and vote on it.
To direct staff to
Yeah.
come back
Yeah,
with a
I can-
plan before we make a decision
I
on that?
can agree to that.
Okay, yes?
Okay, so I have a comment on the whole thing. Do I make it now or do I wait for the friendly amendment?
Well, there is a suggested amendment. I guess we should revisit that and get a seconder on that. It has changed. So would someone like to second the revised amendment?
What was the revision?
It would be, I guess it would be, take the second part of my initial amendment, do that first, and then wait for staff to come back with their recommendations 45 days out from the day, and then we'd make a decision on standing committees, whatever they bring back. So it would be something like this. Be it resolved to direct staff to review the standing committee guidelines and bring back to council updated and revised guidelines for the establishment of such standing committees within 45 days from today.
So we are still committing to standing committees, regardless of, or are we asked, like, for example, I'll just put it out there, that we have, so we're going with a committee of the whole approach, which is an approach adopted by many modern municipalities like us. Are we saying that we're throwing that out for standing committees, and we're just going to tell them to figure it out?
Could both not coexist, the standing committees and committee of the whole?
Well, I would suggest that in that case, then we direct staff to come back with something, like a structure that may be amenable to council, and have council make that decision on it. So give council some options in terms of how to be organized, and then decide on it, rather than make the decision before we get a recommendation. You know
So,
what I mean?
Mr. Mayor, if I could maybe add to that, I'd like to know what communities do not have standing committees, because St. John's doesn't, I know.
Yeah, they have a
They
finance,
have a
they have a finance and admin committee.
Yeah, but most other communities in this land do have standing committees, as far as I know. Except I'm not sure about Paradise, that's the one I'm not sure about. Mr. Mayor, I would say, just to reply to Councilor Gill's concern about being on other committees, we do have leads now, which is similar to the same idea as being on a committee. This would simply allow everyone to be in tune with all information at the same time. I have no problem if you want to give staff direction to review the guidelines and committee structure. I see no real issue in us having standing committees and bringing those resolutions to the committee of the whole with a better informed, more informed council. I don't see any issue with that at all. So if you want to do two of them together, that's fine, because committee of the whole is really just another council meeting, public meeting.
Right, well, with reports from the
From
various
committees.
departments.
Yeah.
Which are presented to all of council for information purposes, which is what we do at
committee
committees.
structure would allow that
Yeah.
to be, I
We do it
guess,
twice, yeah.
more informative
Yeah,
for council.
that's right. Yeah. Yes,
I just see this as a total waste of time. I really do. I think we've been on council, we're in our 5th month, 6th month. We haven't done nothing. All we're doing is bringing back stuff that we've changed, trying to put it back the way it was. We have people here that campaign on, doing things in public, and we don't want to be doing stuff behind closed doors. And now we're trying to go back there. I don't understand that. We've got a hospital up there, our nursing residents. It hasn't even come up. All we're talking about is just going over stuff that really, I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Mr. Chair.
We're not going anywhere.
Mr. Chair?
yes.
In all due respect, Councillor, glad you brought up the point that we're in 5 months. We haven't had in the 5 months a strategic planning session around this table, such that, because I know when you knocked on doors, when I knocked on doors, there were some issues you would have heard that I may not have heard. We all ran on a certain campaign, but each and every one of us heard similar stories, similar concerns, similar opportunities brought forward to us as we campaigned back in August and September.
Yes.
But yet, we haven't had, unless I missed something, we haven't had that opportunity yet to sit around the table to really ash out, my top 5 or 6 priorities, your top 5 or 6 priorities, and the top 10 priorities collectively as a city. So we haven't gone down that road yet. We haven't. So we're 5 months out, but we haven't collectively put our brains together.
That's my point.
Other than a meeting like this.
That's my point.
Councillor, please.
I'm sorry.
Which would through a committee structure and through a planning structure where we got recorded minutes to present it in public through a committee of the whole and/or at this public meeting, but in which every resident understands where we're coming from, and every resident can see the opportunities that the city has, and every resident sees where we're going as a council. That's just my point. I'm just trying to be very transparent.
No, I agree with that. It's not where we're going, it's how we're getting there. That's my point. You know, like, I have a meeting with, I'm on public safety, I have a meeting with Todd, and then, so I am, as a councillor, and probably next year we'll move that around again as per the norm. So we are having meetings, and we'll take that and we'll come back to the committee of the whole. I don't know what the difference is going to be. I really don't. I don't see, I just see it's just that, well, that's the way we used to do it, and well, let's keep on doing it. We're move on.
Yes?
Just to, I think Councillor Grant already mentioned it, but in the previous years when we had standing committees, minutes were made. They were made available to council. They're public minutes as well. They were adopted. But, I see as well, maybe staff wants to come back with a recommendation that they can be, these meetings can be done on FaceTime or Facebook as we use now, Rogers or whoever we use. So there are other opportunities available to make them more public as well. So, and they're not decision-making meetings when it comes to council.
You're right, Councillor Pender, but what's frustrating about this is that the previous council did bring committee meetings to this very chamber, televised them, did them online, and the previous council rejected that, didn't want it as a forum, and it didn't work. It didn't work from a staff perspective, so that's why, again, we moved to a committee of the whole structure. Again, I think that this is, I share Councillor Griffin's frustration in terms of, yes, I agree that we should be looking at strategic planning and things like that, but we spent our time spinning our wheels on issues from the previous council. And I think it's time to end this, and I think it's time to move forward. Again, I would support a recommendation. My ears are open to another structure on this. I don't think we should pre-decide what that structure is at this meeting, since it just came to the agenda tonight. But I would support going back and getting a recommendation and having this brought forward for a decision of council.
I'm fine with that, Mr. Mayor. Since I brought the motion up, I'm fine with, because I believe the second part of the motion, if that was just acted upon, would allow for that very work to take place by staff. Because if I'll read it this way, furthermore, or be it resolved to direct staff to review standing committee guidelines and bring back to council updated and or revised guidelines for the establishment of such committees within 45 days from today.
Okay. So committee structure, basically.
Yep. And I could word process that and send it to Marina for...
Well, we got to have something on the books to vote on, so.
So what I'm understanding is that we're going to review the committee structure, including terms of reference of our committees to bring recommendation back to council.
Is that Councillor Brander?
That's fair, yeah.
Okay, good.
Within 45 days.
Okay, would someone like to second that?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? 1. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Pender, you have an item about transit?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to go back to the minutes of the last meeting. Just bear with me 1 second, January 24th. There was an RFD, I think it's January 24th, on transit. And it was about, just looking for Mr. Mayor, it's near the end of the meeting. It was about bringing the Route 2 changes, maybe it's February 7th, wasn't it? Route 2 changes to Cornbrook Transit. There we go. To have revised route to almost getting us to the long-term care center. And again, this is one of these items that came up that I assumed we were going to the long-term care center, but what we understood during the meeting is that passengers will be dropped at, correct me if I'm wrong, the end of Wheelers Road. There was some discussion around would there be a shelter. The answer, I believe, at the time was Right now, there's no money in the budget. We'd have to look and see how much you similar to that. And, you know, and I don't think it was fair to ask how far away is it at the time, because that wasn't something that somebody had calculated. But it is actually, if you walk the road or drive the road, it's a full kilometer from the doors to the long-term care center on a highway, past 2 sets of traffic lights, past the entrance to the hospital site for the contractors, heavy equipment, construction, no sidewalks, and then down the road to the actual long-term care center, which is on the other side of the hospital. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that's the best we can do. I'm hoping that we can do better. And you mentioned earlier in the announcements with the provincial, federal government today, monies that were allocated. I see St. John's got $80,000 for accessible shelters, I believe, which is great on them. And there's monies out there. There's, you know, $2.7 billion for transit in Canada from the federal government. So I would like to see us do better, and I think our staff working with our contractor and long-term care center could do better and get those buses to the door. So, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to bring forward a motion just to have council direct staff to review the Cornbrook Transit and work with the long-term care center to find a solution to get the Cornbrook Transit to the doors of the long-term care center. Now, how we do it, time frame.
Wasn't this question brought forward last week, last meeting,
What question?
about transit? What date was the transit?
February 7th, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
There was an RFD, an information, sorry, it wasn't an RFD.
FYI.
It
right,
was just an
okay.
information
Okay, good,
piece.
okay.
There was no actual motion of council.
Right.
It's just read out. And having gone up there, having talked to people, having gotten response from people, you know, I think we can do better. I think staff did what they could within the means that they have at their disposal. But quite frankly, I don't think what we're proposing is good enough. And that given the weather conditions, especially in the winter when most people are using the bus, people who use the bus, asking them to get off at Wheelers Road and walk. And just thinking about it, I don't know if we have to have the route going like each time they go around. I don't know if we can just, you know, make one run in the morning and one in the afternoon, if that can be accommodated to allow people at least, you know, if we're providing this service, let's have the dignity to get people to the door. A lot of times they're visiting people, elderly people in long-term care, palliative care. If people have to take the bus, let's make it a reliable and viable service, and let's get them to the door. So, Mr. Mayor, as I said, I bring a motion forward to direct staff to work with the contractor, long-term care, to find a solution to see how we can get the bus to the door of the long-term care center. And let them come back with some solutions, recommendations. Maybe we need more money, I don't know, but...
Before you make your motion, maybe we should ask Mr. Charzig the status of that, because I understood that was the direction he was taking, but I don't know like where they've gone with that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I understood it was just an information meeting, no direction was given from council, so...
No, but since that time,
Oh, okay.
because he was...
I wouldn't be aware of any different changes.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have a meeting with long-term care, actually, I believe later on this week, to discuss the issues and trying to get closer to the door. That's the intent.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to stick with my motion saying, I don't want closer to the door, I want to the door.
Okay, got a motion, seconded? Seconded, perfect. Okay, questions on that?
Questions? No, I don't have any questions. I just got a couple of comments. I'm after hearing from some people too about dropping them off. And I did ask, although we weren't told at the time exactly how far it was, Director Charters did measure it on Google Map or whatever it was, but I think it fell a bit short from what we were told at that time to what it actually measured up at the end, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't until we got down into the weeds that we found out that exactly what was going to be happening and people were going to be dropped off and there may not be a bus shelter or whatever. But I thought that we were told, and maybe I'm wrong, that the bus route would be changed, because I think that it was also told that the route would be changed and would affect students at Grenfell and things like that. And I think that maybe somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. But to think that the door of the long-term care would be the perfect place to drop them off, I agree with Councillor Pender that we got to make it happen.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I'll just finish with a comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor, that I think our staff are quite capable of working with the contractor and long-term care to make that happen. And if that requires extra resources or whatever it is, there's always an opportunity to come back to council and give us a recommendation of what we need to do. And there are also, as I said, obviously this is longer term, but I would like to, see that as part of a longer term plan. And where are we going with the Corner Brook Transit? Where's the bus going when the hospital closes? And that's not part of this issue, but yeah, let's have a look at that as well.
Okay. That's it. Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Counterminded? I think we got to leave these decisions to staff. But that's okay. Last item before we go to an in-camera, Ukraine. Councillor Pender, you brought it forward.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. We all are, I assume, aware of the tragedy that is currently underway in Ukraine with the invasion of Russia into the Ukrainian territory. Bloodshed and loss of life and destruction that we're witnessing daily on our TV and computer screens and so on. And in this day and age where we talk about world peace and globalization and people having respect for one another, to see one country unilaterally decide to invade another is nothing short of shocking, I guess. And while we see the Western world coming together and strengthening their alliances in support of the people of Ukraine and what's happening there, I know many communities around this country and the federal government, provincial government have shown their support, I guess, for the people of Ukraine. So I was hoping that council would unanimously agree to have you perhaps prepare a statement that we could forward to the Ukrainian ambassador in Canada, showing our support. I don't know if we have a Ukrainian flag that we can fly at our City Hall. I don't think that's something that everyone has in their drawer, but I bet you somebody here has one in this community that we could fly at City Hall, Mr. Mayor. So I know there's not much we can do. We can donate to the Canadian Red Cross for the Ukraine Fund for the next, I think, 4 days to March 4th. Federal government will match that donation as well, and there are other charities that people can donate to for humanitarian aid for Ukraine. So, Mr. Mayor, I just hope that would be something that council would be agreeable to.
Yep.
Have you issue a letter, and as well, if we can find a Ukrainian flag that we could at least raise in front of City Hall and for a day or a week or whatever is deemed appropriate.
Okay. Well, can I assume unanimous consent on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Sound good? Okay. So be it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you all very much. That brings us to the end of our public agenda. We do have a short in-camera session after, so TV people, good to see you. We'll see you soon. Back here in Chambers, hopefully. Thank you very much. Good night.